Smart Choices, a practical guide to making better decisions. The authors are John Hammond, Ralph Kinney, Howard Rifa. The reason I'm reading this book is because my major actually was decision science, and these authors are professors in my field. They wrote this book a long time ago for practical purpose for common people to use their academic research results. I bought the book when I was a student. It is still on my bookshelf. Maybe for younger people, it is something they should read. They should know, at least, to help them to make decisions. I haven't read this book for many years, but I guess I want to refresh my memory. It's quite different from what I read usually. It's quite practical. Okay, Chapter 1, Making Smart Choices. Our decisions shape our lives. Made consciously or consciously, with good or bad consequences, they represent the fundamental tool we use in facing the opportunities, the challenges, and the uncertainties of life. Should I go to college? If so, where? To study what? What career should I pursue? What job should I take? Should I get married now or wait? Should I have children? If so, when and how many? Where should I live? Should I trade up to a larger house? What can I contribute to my community? Which job candidate should I hire? What marketing strategy should I recommend for my company? I feel unfulfilled. Should I change jobs? Go back to school? Move? How should I invest my savings? When should I retire? To do what? Where? Such questions mark the progress of our lives and our careers, and the way we answer them determines, to a large extent, our place in society and in the world. Our success in all the roles we play, student, worker, boss, citizen, spouse, parent, individual, turns on the decisions we make. Making decisions is a fundamental life skill. Some decisions will be fairly obvious, no-brainers. Your bank account is low, but you have a 2-week vacation coming up, and you want to get away to someplace warm to relax with your family. Will you accept your in-laws' offer of a free use of their Florida beachfront condo? Sure. You like your employer and feels ready to move forward in your career. Will you step in for your boss for 3 weeks while she attends a professional development course? Of course. But the no-brainers are the exceptions. Most of the important decisions you will face in life are tough and complex, with no easy or obvious solutions. And they probably won't affect you alone. They will affect your family, your friends, your co-workers, and many others, known and unknown. Making good decisions is thus one of the most important determinants of how well you meet your responsibilities and achieve your personal and professional goals. In short, the ability to make smart choices is a fundamental life skill. Most of us, however, dread making hard decisions. By definition, tough choices have high stakes and serious consequences. They involve numerous and complex considerations, and they expose us to the judgments of others. The need to make a difficult decision puts us at risk of anxiety, confusion, doubt, error, regret, embarrassment, loss. No wonder we find it hard to settle down and choose. In living through a major decision, we suffer periods of alternating self-doubt and overconfidence, of procrastination, of wheel spinning and flip-flopping, even of desperation. Our discomfort often leads us to make decisions too quickly, or too slowly, or too arbitrarily. We flip a coin, toss a dart, let someone else or time decide. The result, a mediocre choice, dependent on luck for success. It's only afterwards that we realize we could have made a smarter choice, and by then it's too late. You can learn to make better decisions. Why do we have such trouble? It's simple. We don't know how to make decisions well. Despite the importance of decision-making to our lives, few of us ever receive any training in it. So we are left to learn from experience. But experience is a costly, inefficient teacher that teaches us bad habits along with good ones. Because decision situations vary so markedly, the experience of making one important decision often seems of little use when facing the next. How is deciding what job to take or what house to buy similar to deciding what schools to send your children to, what medical treatment to pursue for a serious illness, or what balance to strike among cost, aesthetics, and function in planning a new office park? It is true, there is often very little relationship between what you decide in one instance and what you decide in another. What does not mean, however, that you cannot learn to make decisions more successfully. The connection among the decisions you make lies not in what you decide, but in how you decide. The only way to really raise your odds of making a good decision is to learn to use a good decision-making process, one that gets you to the best solution with a minimum loss of time, energy, money, and composure. An effective decision-making process will fulfill these 6 criteria. It focuses on what's important. It's logical and consistent. It acknowledges both subjective and objective factors and blends analytical with intuitive thinking. It requires only as much information and analysis as is necessary to resolve a particular dilemma. It encourages and guides the gatherings of relevant information and informed opinion. It's straightforward, reliable, easy to use, and flexible. A decision-making approach that addresses these criteria can be practiced on decisions major and minor. What movie to see, what car to buy, what vacation to take, what investment to make, what department head to hire, what medical treatment to pursue. And the more you use such an approach, the more efficient and effective it will become. As you grow more skilled and your confidence grows, making decisions will become second nature to you. In fact, you may find your friends and associates asking you to help and advise with their tough choices. Use the Proact approach to make smart choices. Here, Proact, P-R-O-A-C-T, is the name for this approach. This book provides you with a straightforward, proven approach for making decisions. It does not tell you what to decide, but it does show you how. Our approach meets the 6 criteria listed above. It helps you to see both the tangible and the intangible aspects of your decision situation more clearly and to translate all pertinent facts, feelings, opinions, beliefs, and advice into the best possible choices. Highly flexible, it is applicable to business and professional decisions, to personal decisions, to family decisions, to any decision you need to make. One thing the method won't do is make hard decisions easy. That's impossible. Hard decisions are hard because they are complex, and no one can make that complexity disappear. But you can manage complexity sensibly. How? Just like you would hike up a mountain, one step at a time. Our approach takes one step at a time. We have found that even the most complex decisions can be analyzed and resolved by considering a set of 8 elements. The first 5, problem, objectives, alternatives, consequences, trade-offs, constitute the core of our approach and are applicable to virtually any decision. The acronym for these, Proact, serves as a reminder that the best approach to decision situations is a proactive one. The worst thing you can do is wait until a decision is forced on you or made for you. The 3 remaining elements, uncertainty, risk tolerance, and linked decisions, help clarify decisions in volatile or evolving environments. Some decisions won't involve these elements, but many of your most important decisions will. The essence of the Proact approach is to divide and conquer. To resolve a complex decision situation, you break it into these elements and think systematically about each one, focusing on those that are key to your particular situation. Then you assemble your thoughts and analysis into the smart choice. So, although our method may not make hard decisions easy, it will certainly make it easier. There are 8 keys to effective decision making. Let's take a brief look at each of the elements of the Proact approach to see how they work and how they fit together. Work on the right decision problem. What must you decide? Is it which health club to join, or whether to join one at all, or opposed to walking more or buying some home gym equipment? Is it who to hire to manage your company's information system departments, or whether you should even have an information system department as opposed to outsourcing the function to an outside provider? The way you frame your decision at the offsite can make all the difference. To choose well, you need to state your decision problems carefully, acknowledging their complexity and avoiding unwarranted assumptions and option-limiting prejudices. Specify your objectives. Your decision should get you where you want to go. If you have to hire a new employee, do you want someone who is a disciplined team player or a creative free spirit? Do you want a fresh perspective or solid experience? A decision is a means to an end. Ask yourself what you most want to accomplish and which of your interests, values, concerns, fears, and aspirations are most relevant to achieving your goal. Thinking through your objectives will give directions to your decision making. Create imaginative alternatives. Your alternatives represent the different courses of action you have to choose from. Should you take sides in a family argument or stand aside from the rising tide of accusation and acrimony? Or should you seek a resolution palatable to everyone concerned? If you didn't have different alternatives, you wouldn't be facing a decision. But have you considered all the alternatives, or at least a wide range of creative and desirable ones? Remember, your decision can be no better than your best alternative. Understand the consequences. How well do your alternatives satisfy your objectives? Alternatives beckon and beguile, but beyond them lie sometimes sobering, sometimes exciting consequences. Abandoning the corporate treadmill for your own sailboat chartering outfit in Aruba may sound enticing, but what would be the consequences for your spouse career, your school-age children, your aging parents, your cancer-prone skin? Assessing frankly the consequences of each alternative will help you to identify those that best meet your objective or your objectives. Grapple with your trade-offs. Let me actually label these points that the authors made. The first point was work on the right decision problem. And the second was specify your objectives. And the third is create imaginative alternatives. And four, understand the consequences. And now this is the fifth. Grapple with your trade-offs. Because objectives frequently conflict with one another, you will need to strike a balance. Some of this must sometimes be sacrificed in favor of some of that. Your career is important to you, but so is your family. You may decide, therefore, to reduce your business travel or even to cut back on your hours at the office. You will lose some career momentum and possibly some income, but you will gain time with your spouse and your kids. In most complex decisions, there's no one perfect alternative. Different alternatives fulfill different constellations of objectives. Your task is to choose intelligently among the less than perfect possibilities. To do so, you need to set priorities by openly addressing the need for trade-offs among competing objectives. The sixth, clarify your uncertainties. What could happen in the future, and how likely is it that it will? To decide how much money to set aside for your daughter's college education fund, you must assess a number of uncertainties. Will she apply to an Ivy League university or a state college? Will she be accepted? Are her academic, artistic, or aesthetic skills likely to earn her a scholarship? Will she want to work while studying? Will she need a car? Uncertainty makes choosing far more difficult, but effective decision-making demands that you confront uncertainty, judging the likelihood of different outcomes and assessing their possible impacts. The seventh, think hard about your risk tolerance. When decisions involve uncertainties, the desired consequence may not be the one that actually results. A much deliberated bone marrow transplant may or may not halt a cancer. A low-risk investment in municipal bonds could result in major financial losses. People vary in their tolerance of such risks, and depending on the stakes involved in the risks, they will accept from one decision to the next. A conscious awareness of your willingness to accept risk will make your decision-making process smoother and more effective. It will help you to choose an alternative with the right level of risk for you. And the last, consider linked decisions. What you decide today could influence your choices tomorrow, and your goals for tomorrow should influence your choices today. Thus, many important decisions are linked over time. A highway commissioner may decide to buy land now to create options for accommodating possible increases in traffic in the future. He thus circumvents potential jumps in land values or increases in community resistance, which could foreclose future options. The key to dealing effectively with linked decision is to isolate and resolve near-term issues while gathering the information needed to resolve those that will arise later. By sequencing your actions to fully exploit what you learn along the way, you will be doing your best, despite an uncertain world, to make smarter choices. The 8 Proact elements provide a framework that can profoundly redirect your decision-making, enriching your possibilities and increasing your chances of finding a satisfying solution. Before discussing each element in the coming chapters, we will begin here with a brief and somewhat simplified case study that shows the Proact process at work. Here, the author gave an example application. The title is to sell a business or not, but I will stop here as it's getting too long. But after this example, the author also gave a summary. The title is Start Making Your Own Smart Choices Now. It may use this example, so when I read it, it may not be fully clear why they mention certain things. Let's see whether it is clear or not. Bill's experience illustrates the benefits of learning how to make good decisions. Of course, a good decision doesn't necessarily guarantee a good result, just as a bad decision doesn't necessarily guarantee a bad result. The careless can hit it lucky, the careful can be shut down. But a good decision does increase the odds of success and at the same time satisfies our very human desire to control the forces that affect our lives. In the chapters that follow, we will lay out step by step the proactive approach for decision making, the method that proved so valuable to Bill. Reading these chapters will enable you to improve the way you make the decisions that determine the course of your own life. Before we plunge in, though, we want to review a couple of important tips that will help ensure that you get the full benefits of our approach. First and foremost, always focus your thinking where it matters most. Cycle quickly through the 8 elements to gain a broad perspective on your decision problems. Typically, for all but the most complex decisions, you will not need to consider all the elements in depth. Usually, only 1 or 2 elements will emerge as the most critical for the decision at hand. Sometimes the simple act of setting out your problem, objectives, alternatives, consequences, and trade-offs, as well as any uncertainties, risks, or linked decision factors, will fully clarify the decision, pointing the way to the smart choice. If not, you should try reconfiguring your problems in various ways. Display it graphically as a table, diagram, or chart, for example. restated in several forms using different words, phrasings, and emphasis. Describe your problems to others, asking for their opinions and advice. For Bill, imagine himself giving his partner $250,000 in cash was an eye-opener, as were his family's recollection about the struggles and the stretches of the past. Although the systematic approach we prescribe will greatly increase the chances of reaching a smart choice, as it did with Bill, it doesn't assure it. You must also avoid certain psychological traps that can derail your thinking. Psychologists have shown, for example, that the first ideas that come into our head when we start out to make a decision can have an undue impact on the ultimate choice we make. This can, without our even knowing it, distort our decision-making process and lead us to the wrong decision. In Chapter 10, we will show you how to identify and temper the impact of the most common psychological traps. Bill's story underscores one more important lesson about making smart choices. Take control. Create your own decision opportunities. Be proactive in your decision-making. Look for new ways to formulate your decision problems. Search actively for hidden objectives, new alternatives, unacknowledged consequences, and appropriate trade-offs. Most importantly, be proactive in seeking decision opportunities that advance your long-range goals, your core values and beliefs, and the needs for your family, community, and employer. Take charge of your life by determining which decisions you will face and when you face them. Don't just sit back and watch what, good or bad, comes your way. That's the end of the chapter 1. I just want to make a few comments here. Number one, the reason I actually want to read this one, first, the book is on my bookshelf, so I saw it. Second, actually, it's because these days, because of this Russian-Ukraine war, many people are predicting a lot of things, what Putin will do, what Biden will do, what China will do, etc. And I told them that these predictions should be based on a decision-making perspective. And I have that perspective because decision science was my major. I would say that because I used to study these things. But certainly I'm not a decision science test today, so I should say was, not is. But when I was a student of decision science, I did read this book. I do know what these authors are saying, and unconsciously, these things have been in my mind throughout my life. And I wouldn't say that I made all the right choices, right decisions, but these things do help me somewhat. And especially these days, when making decisions, I feel that I kind of make a better predictions than others. When other people feel certain things would happen, I would say, no, it won't happen. When they say these things will happen, will not happen, I say they will happen. And it turns out that most of the time I'm right. So I think this decision science perspective gave me the edge to make these predictions. So this is the second thing. The third is that when I read this one, actually, I do feel that these things are relevant, not just like a chicken soup type of thing. It's also not a psychology book. Decision science is different from psychology. psychology is very useful, but people may also forget that the psychology itself may not be that correct. And most of the time, actually, psychologists recommend something, and that something should be based on decision science. I feel it is, when reading this again, it brings many of the memories that I had, and I do feel it is very important for especially young people when they just started in their life, their career, to know this thing. So I feel it is, I'm obliged to read such a book. And finally, people may say decision choice may make a person hesitating. For example, like Steve Jobs or Bezos, when they decide to do certain things, they have the resolve, they have the courage to leave their current jobs and to go to do a startup, etc. So if you learn too much about decision science, you may not be able to make that kind of big decisions. To a degree, it may be true, but if we really understand the decision science, we would say they are not conflictory. They are the same thing. Let's think this way. When Bezos decided to leave his D-shell Wall Street jobs to just do startup, is a pure courageous thing to do, or he is actually have a clear objective and he have the clear alternatives and he has the right risk tolerance? It could be his decision is still based on decision science. Most people cannot jump to the startup. It's because they don't have a clear objective, and they also don't have the risk tolerance. So everybody is making decisions. It's just some people make decisions one way, and the other people make a decision other way based on their clarity about their objectives and also about their risk tolerances. In that perspective, I will bring these outlier examples back to the decision science. Okay, that's it for today. Hopefully that's helpful for you. If not, if you are like me, not young anymore, maybe your children can benefit from what I just read and said here.